Hello, everybody. Today we cover the first part of the grammar of lesson 28. And we talk about the Atanopada, the middle or reflexive voice. So it's a special inflection of verbs called the middle or reflexive Atanopada. And special inflections of verbs are occasionally used in place of the ordinary inflection, which are called the active or the transitive, the Parasapada. This translation does not distinguish the term from transitive in the narrow sense of taking a patient, like a sakamaka, being transitive in this sense. They may be regarded as poetic forms rather than as a regular reflexive, the name applying literally only to the usage of cognate forms in other languages. And they are very rare in prose, a little less rare in verse. And a survey of the usage of reflexive forms in Pali, and particularly in the Digha Nikaya, leads to the conclusion that the shade of meaning they carry is simply a poetic or dramatic or elevated one, adding emphasis or dignity. Note especially Basasu and the slightly pompous Barne. The following reflexive forms are idiomatic in prose. So we have the present tense. So se, te, mhe, mha, ma se, fe, ante, onte, are. For example, labate, he or she obtains. This is oftentimes used in verse. Manye, I think, I suppose, no doubt, as if. Devo manye, I suppose, he is a god, or just like a god. Barne, I say. In the verse collection in the canon, especially the Jataka, a variety of middle forms will be found. For example, in the second person singular, lapase. The imperative reflexive terminations are su, tang, mase or amase, mhase, vo, nantang, antang, rung. Examples of which are labantang, let him obtain, basasu, speak, or samvidahasu, organize, mantafo, take counsel. The optative reflexive terminations are eyan, eto, eta, eyamase, amase or mase, eyafo, erang. For example, jayeta, he, she would be born, it would arise. Agameta, he, she might come. Labeta, he, she should obtain. Chicheram, they would be cut. Like they would be cut by themselves, and they would break like straps. Vade mase, we would speak, for example, in verse. So the aorist, the reflexive terminations are a, to, ta, mhase, mase, ham, re, rum. Examples of which are sandita, it flowed, abhasita, he, she spoke, akampita, it trembled, quaked, abhiramita, he, she enjoyed or took pleasure in, uchito, you asked, karomase, we did, in verse. Now, the inflections for the future are the negahita, se, te, mhe, mse, vhe, te, or re. Unfortunately, I don't have any examples written down for this one. And we have the present middle participle, which we learned already beforehand. The present middle participle is sometimes called reflexive. Its use, however, is hardly to be distinguished from the present active participle, and it is fairly frequent, far more so than the above reflexive inflections. It is favored by certain verbs, some of which, lab, sant, and pass, are used with reflexive inflections, and it is specially associated with the passive. So here, by the way, we have the passive middle voice. The passive reflexive is extremely rare. We have, for example, abihariyitta, it was brought or presented. Panyayitta, it was discerned. And the third person plural used in exactly parallel sentences, however, is panyayingsu. Now, to sum up the reflexive, it is a bit of a relic of the past, and we can translate it with in the active voice. And the present middle participle seems to be much more predominant than the other middle forms, which are more in elevated or poetic contexts. More in elevated speech or poetic context. So let's have a look at the vocabulary. Atikam, atikamati, pass over. Anupagam, anupagachati, amalgamate with the accusative. It goes together with the accusative. Anupai, anupeti, coalesce with, again goes together with the accusative. In the footnote, a variant reading anupikachati suggests anuapigam or anupikam, also anupi or anuapi. There is a prefix api or p meaning over or covered. Yet this is just a different etymological explanation of these two verbs. Adi ogha achogahati means plunge into. Achogahetwa is the gerund. Avatar, avatittati, remain. Avasisati, remain, be left over. Upadahati, torment, worry. Otarati, pass down, collate. And its causative, otariti, is to check. Chi, the passive of which is chiati, be piled up, be built up. Nikanati, to bury. Patikosati, decry or criticize in the bad sense. Pachutarati, come back or come back out, come out or come back out after bathing. Patilapati, obtain, acquire. Pativineti, dispel. Patisamchikkati, reflect, consider. Pativisati, serve or serve with food. Visuchati, become purified. Samyamati, control oneself. Samvadati, lead to goes together with the dative. Sankamati, pass into. Sankilisati, become defiled. Sandati, flow. Sandis, the causative of which is sandaseti, meaning review. Sevati, indulge in or pursue. And a few nouns, abhijati, class of birth, as a feminine. Abhinya, insight or even like direct knowledge or supernormal powers or supranormal power. Agamo, literally the coming, but here means as an action noun from agam, agachati. It means here more figuratively, body of doctrine, tradition. And the PPP, agata, likewise may refer to the handing down, receiving of such a tradition. Adi, beginning or opening. Adipateyang, lordship or supremacy. Avaso, living in, dwelling. Or tappang, shame or fear of blame. Usually goes together with heri and utappa, modesty, self-respect, conscience, by the way. Karuna, compassion. Kasirang, difficulty. Kilamato, tiring, wearying, weariness. Kattang, limp. Gochara, pasture, territory, proper place, range. Charanang, conduct, good conduct. Tamo, vigor. Nadika, stream. Nago, Next to serpent, it also means elephant. Nipta, conclusion. Niyati, fate, destiny. Pakantika, dysentery. Paja, the creation or the created universe, or created according to the Brahmanical tradition. Padilabo, acquisition. Papachito, one who has gone forth, left the world. Papacha, going forth. Pamanam, measure or size. Parakamo, courage or valor. Parinamo, digestion. Pariyosanam, ending, conclusion. Parivattang, circle. Partimokko, liberation. Matika, matrix or notes for remembering the doctrine. By the way, this seems to be also an old name of the Abhidhamma, for which the tabulations on all these tables and matrices were compiled. Maro, the god of death. Mara, of course, the god of death and passion leading to rebirth. Okay, today up to here. Purnadasanaya Tavapaveya Subham Mangalam.